On this AVNation special, we are at the PSNI Super Summit 2017, talking with marketing professionals and audio-video editors about the best way to get your integration firm in front of the customers you are trying to reach. All that and more, next on this AVNation special.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
With me on stage are our friends and colleagues that I've talked with over the last 5 or 6 years. First and foremost is Lindsay Adler. She is the editor of Systems Contractors News. Next to her is Kirsten Nelson. Kirsten is the former editor and current editor at large at SCN, also the editor at large at Vernacular. Rachel Queddy is from Commercial Integrator. She's the web editor for Commercial Integrator. If you don't know, this is Haley Klein, Director of Marketing for PSNI. And Jane Johnson. Jane is the Managing Partner at Pivot Communications. And I'm still Tim. So a couple of things. This was actually a really cool group to get together because what you have on stage is you have a couple of really great marketers and some folks who are going to start bugging you if they haven't bugged you already for comments, right? They want to interview you. They want to get out of you some of the things that make your companies great. SCN does the top 50 every year, right? At AVNation, we use that story every single year to talk about, you know, what makes those companies top 50. So what I wanted to do was kind of get out of these folks how you can benefit from them, right? What are some things that you can lean on them just like they lean on you? So the first one, and I'm going to start with Jane and Haley on this, as far as a kind of a marketing plan, and the phrase came up, balanced marketing plan, and I still don't fully grasp what that means for in general. But Jane, we'll start with you on this. How does a balanced marketing plan look in today's integrator?
Well, I think when we're talking about a balanced marketing plan, we mean one that has multiple tactics, multiple channels. So it's not something that is completely skewed towards one channel like email marketing, for example. So you want to make sure that you're touching a lot of different channels, that you're involving the media as one of your strategies. You certainly would have email marketing, and then you would have a web presence. So to answer the first part of your question is of it being balanced, it's that you're really creating an integrated strategy, which is more often the term that we use is an integrated marketing plan that incorporates multiple channels. So I think that's really the first place to start.
I think going beyond that as well, making sure that you have a seamless experience no matter what piece of content you are providing. So whether that be, you know, your collateral in general, your video, your infographics, everything should really have the same kind of look, the same kind of brand, and the same type of message each and every way that you promote it. I want, when I put something out, I want everyone to know it came from PSNI. That's my company, and they can tell that just by looking at it. And then from there, making sure that you have the consistent message, whether that be about your brand or the campaign you're running, whatever that may be. I think that's incredibly important to have.
Yeah, because it's thinking about it from that customer experience, whether they find you on a third-party website, whether they find you through your email campaign, whether they find you through social media marketing. To Haley's point, you have a very consistent message, and look, they know immediately that it's you.
Yeah. Kirsten, I want to grab you on this because after you left SCN, you've done several other things involving content creation and things of that nature. How important is content in general to a marketing plan?
Yeah, it's funny. I was reading the questions for this session, and I think content, it's suddenly, yeah, incredibly valuable in a lot of ways because everyone knows how we all shop for everything, right? We Google it, and if your name and your company comes up and there's a nice page that shows your company, that's great. But also, if your name comes up in association with a bunch of expertise pieces, either as a source in articles or your own content, that's incredibly valuable. But then beyond, content is valuable because when people Google questions about what they're looking for, if they find your company answering that question, that's great. So content, it's kind of more than just having an About Us page, or it's definitely trying to answer the questions of customers.
Lindsay, I want to dovetail it into that. Then when you go searching for people, you go looking for the person who's doing security, right, in AV, the talk we just had. How do you go about finding integrators? How do you go about finding subject matter experts for your pieces?
A lot of it is building a network over time and cultivating sources that way. The cybersecurity example is great because I think it's an area that's been underserved in our industry that a lot of people are finally coming to realize. It's been difficult to find sources along those lines. There are maybe a half a dozen cybersecurity experts in the industry, AV cybersecurity experts. So trying to engage with people like Teresa, again, coming to conferences like this and reaching out to people on social media or other digital methods in LinkedIn. That's one useful way for sure, but absolutely social media today is a tremendous resource when it comes to finding sources, because those are the people who want to talk to the public. And sometimes those people are difficult to find, especially if you're browsing people's LinkedIn profiles or whatnot. So in terms of canvassing for information and content, I don't know what people did before social media. No, I do.
Yeah, they had these Rolodexes, the cards, and talk to people. Yeah, physically to call people up. Before I ever got involved in AV, I was in radio and TV, and that's exactly what we did. Is you called your contacts and said, okay, I need somebody on this. Who do you have? Rachel, same kind of question. When you guys start going after this story or this sort of whether it's a vertical or whether it's a specific subject, how do you find people?
Well, I have great colleagues, Tom LeBlanc and Craig McCormick, who have been in the industry for years, and I've been with CI for 1 year. So the industry is small, but to someone like me, it's huge, So actually attending events like this, networking in person, has helped me build my list of contacts, just because I get to meet people on a personal level. So I think it's important, well, I guess I think if you're a journalist, it's important to travel and actually get out in the field to meet people. That's huge. And then, like what you said, social media is huge. I really had no experience with Twitter until this job, and it's amazing because I'm 25. You'd think that I would, but it's amazing how much you can learn from people on Twitter, get content ideas from Twitter, and get new contacts. So I would say social media and actually getting out in the field.
I want to come off that and actually ask all of you the same kind of question. You said networking in person. Yes, we all cover, or Haley has worked for a couple of manufacturers, and we have wonderful video conferencing systems, right? But Jane, talk about for a second the importance of physically, meeting IRL, meeting in real life.
Personally, I prefer not to, but I work up to it from time to time, so here we are. Events, the technology days, I think most of you would agree that those tend to be some of your most successful lead gen. And that just speaks to the value of being able to make those connections, those face-to-face connections, and being able to, it's like when we do meet in these conferences, it's nice to be able to put a face to a name, and you hear that a lot. Because there is something about that in real life experience that can't be replicated in video. Now, I do think a lot can be replicated in video, and we do operate, at least my business, most of our calls are video calls now because we have clients across the country, and
you have employees across
the country, and we find that video conferencing works extremely well to manage a business and to work with clients.
Yeah. Haley, same kind of question.
Yeah, I think when I entered the industry, I was a baby, and I didn't know anybody, and I didn't know marketing, and I didn't know what a job was like, and the digital aspect of things is how I got involved in the industry, how I met everyone here, and that was a good gateway, I would say. But then meeting in real life, there, you got to do it, and you deepen those relationships in such a good way. So there's definitely merit to still meeting in real life. I'm never one to promote, we can do this all digitally. I don't think that's true, but I do think, I think you can go both ways with it. I think it's a good way to open up the door and then deepen a relationship.
Deepen it. Kirsten is one of the most well-traveled editors that I know personally. So I want you to kind of talk about this even more so is, how important are those meetings that you go to look at a manufacturer or meet with an integrator?
Yeah, I'm a huge advocate for in-person meetings. I just, every chance I get, try to talk to the people behind anything, anywhere I go, all the time, because I do believe in this thing that's called conversation. Because I like when a conversation meanders in such a way and you end up discovering that that person is also an expert in this. Because you're not going to get that if you're just emailing with them or even just tweeting at them. You're only going to get one dimension of that person. But the longer you spend with somebody and the more the topics kind of evolve as you're conversing, that's when you find out. I mean, I found out so many fantastic new topics and areas, and then finding out people's random hobbies is also a bonus to add dimension to their personality. But yeah, I definitely, every time I go anywhere, I'm continually astounded, because the first time you meet somebody, you're only just getting that first layer, and the more you talk to them, the more you're going to get.
Lindsay, we've talked about, and you guys, and all of you have written really well and about certain segments of the AV industry. How important is it the best way to ask this is just to be real and genuine when it comes to the writing, right? And we've talked about content, and we'll get into that a little bit more deep in a second. But whether that is, the marketing team for integrator XYZ interviewing their chief engineer, right, and pulling out of them their smarts, but then putting it into a consumable package, but also capturing the essence of who that person is, right? Whether they're interested in motocross, or they're interested in skiing, or they're interested in skydiving, or whatever, capturing the realness of the people that they're writing about.
Yeah, it's everything, really. It's not always that easy to do, especially with engineers, I think. But if you listen to them long enough, most of them love to talk, and there are layers to discover. It's definitely a skill, a personable skill, I think, as a writer that's really valuable, is being able to find what makes people tick and spinning it in a relatable way for other people. So you gave the example of interviewing an engineer at the company and wanting to use that in marketing materials and whatnot. And the engineer might not be the best person to pen a blog post, him or herself, but it is the responsibility of a skilled marketing person to understand, to pick out what's interesting there, strip the specs from it, most of them at least, and understand what it is that other people, be it on the internet, social media, in a magazine, what engages those people. Amount of feedback from are the ones that are the least technical, the ones that I identify with on a personal level, and this is a writing strategy that I employ, is that I can fake lots of stuff, but if you want it to be good, it has to mean something to you and to be real, and that's the type of content that I've had a lot of success with, I believe, and that's the kind of content that I identify with as a media consumer.
Yeah. Jane, from your standpoint and Pivot's standpoint, same type of question is, how do you pull out of an engineer, or I'm picking on engineers because there's a stereotype that engineers like to stay in their cubicle and look at the computer all day, and they can spout off specs like nobody's business. But whether it's a engineer or whether it's a programmer, I'll pick on programmers for a second because I used to, who also like to stare at computers all day. How do you pull out of them and make it into something that's consumable to the integrator's client? Not necessarily to editors who I love to death, and they would love to get stuff from integrators, but also to their end users and the people that they're trying to target.
Well, I think that whether it's an engineer or a programmer, there's always a reason that they developed the product or the application. There was something that excited them, that inspired them, that motivated them. And if you can tap into that, you're going to have a really good story. So it's getting beyond, okay, well, what is this product? What does it do? It's getting to the why of the development process. You know, why did you decide to create this product? What was behind that? What was driving the demand? What were some of the challenges? And if you can start to get them to tap into their own excitement about it, then it's this kind of rich tapestry unfolds of a beautiful story. And those are the exciting interviews when you can start doing it. And you can. We've done it. I've had some great conversations with engineers and who are very passionate about their work, and just tap into that passion.
All right. Haley, a little bit different question. That there are some marketers who they have teams of 10, right, or 20, and there are other people who are a sales professional, but they also wear a marketing hat, and so everybody in between, everybody has a different budget and a different bandwidth. Let's go down to the shorter end of that, though. If you do have limited resources and you do have maybe a limited marketing budget, what advice would you give those people who are trying to break out above the crowd?
Yeah, well, first of all, join PSNI because we provide some of that for you. But no, I mean, take what you have in existence and see how you can multiply it. Something I thought was really, in a way, a new concept for me. If I have a case study prepared, or if I have, you know, a topic of interest on a blog or whatever it may be, how can I create 5 different tweets or topics, or 5 different titles? How can I kind of keep bringing you back? If my capabilities are, you know, promoting something once a week, once a month, whatever it may be, because I'm wearing 100 hats, then how can I expand on something that I have in existence? I think that's a big thing. I think also reaching out to smart people. They're so willing to talk because they're so smart, and they're willing to help you. And I think, you know, they come up with new ideas, they help re-promote your stuff, give you advice, or, you know, there's different ways to do it, but yeah, I think a big thing, just take what you have in existence and re-promote, and come up with a new message and then re-promote again. I think that's a good way to do it.
All right. Rachel, and I'll ask Lindsay and Kirsten this. From a publication standpoint, how would I, as an integrator, get your attention, I guess is the best way to ask this, but get your attention and to invite myself into your pages or into your website?
I mean, obviously most companies have PR, and we're used to receive.
Don't assume that most companies
No?
do.
Okay, all right. So if you don't have PR, then well, PR is great because that's who we talk to most. But also, don't be afraid to reach out to us directly ever about any content you have. For Commercial Integrator, we love expert written blogs, you know, because you know we're writers, but we don't do the job, you know, the technical job every day. So we can't easily write to our audience. We need your voice. So any blogs that you've written about a topic that you think your clients are asking about or that you think is important, send it over to us. You know, we might have to do some copy editing or work with you on it, but we love those. We love case studies. So any case study that you do, please send them over. That's what people want to read online. They want the story. So any content you develop, you know, get in contact with the publication and see how much further you can push that content out.
All right, Lindsay, same question. How do people get your attention?
Yeah, there's this really great tool, email. It's really not that hard. I think that's a big misconception that I'd love to convey here is most of us are very busy people, and I get hundreds and hundreds of emails a day, but when they come from an integrator, when they come from a manufacturer, I know they get my attention. It's really not that hard. And I don't always respond right away, but I don't think I would be any good at my job if I didn't have a system for, you know, filing and following up on these things. So I would just say don't be shy. It's really not, it's not as hard as you think. And from a content perspective, being able to offer up information that is original and that I'm not going to find on your website from a Google search, those are the type of things that they also get my attention in a really big way. So original thought pieces, you know, an idea for an article or a blog or an issue or a project that's interesting to you. These are all the things that will get my attention very, very quickly.
So original content that you haven't already used already, that you're not trying to recycle through SCN, but necessarily, you know, new original stuff that is interesting.
Right, and you know, one of the things that's great about working with a PR agency is that a lot of them, the good ones, they know my publication, they know what I need, and they know how to deliver that. But again, it's not so hard for other people to do their homework, really. Again, you know, think about what you would want to read. I mean, obviously we're trying to sell systems, and you know, that's important information to get out. But again, if it's something that I'm going to find on your brochure on your website, it doesn't really necessitate a broader element of what I do.
Yeah. Kirsten, same kind of question, but a little bit different. You know, when you are, let's say that you consult with an integrator, and who's trying to reach out to Lindsay and entice her to do, you know, to run their piece, what would you say? I mean, we talked about not recycling pieces, which is, you know, it's important for a couple different reasons. You know, SCN or commercial integrator gets an original piece of content, and that honestly is important. But then taking, let's say it's a well done integrated system. How do they take that story and put it into, you know, 500, 600 words?
Well, yeah, and that's an interesting question on a lot of levels, because I think we're all figuring out that integrators need to go beyond just the trade publications. Like, you know, getting a story into a trade publication means that story goes online and it has a life there, and somebody can Google you after they find your company. They can Google your name and find that story somewhere, so that it has a life there. But yeah, if you can package project stories, but I think even beyond packaging project stories, definitely just package your expertise. I mean, that's, I think I would tell them, do that 500, 600 word project story, and I can help you do that. But because yeah, I think, yeah, you do need to distill it down to the challenge and the solution, and convey the expertise of the company, and use a lot of the words that people are going to be Googling, you know, when people are lost on the internet trying to solve a problem. Because I keep saying the internet, because that's, of course, the tool people are going to be using most to access your expertise.
That's a valid point, though.
Yeah.
You know, and that's figuring out what they're searching for is a dark art in and of itself.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the thing, I keep saying this, like, find out the 5 questions your sales team hears the most out there in the real world, and translate that into content that you're putting out into the real world. So what are the most, you know, what are the questions you're hearing most frequently now? Answer them. Put that answer out there in whatever package you can.
All right. Last question, then we're going to take a couple questions before we get out of here. Haley, I want to start with you, and we actually talked a little bit about this at the Marketing Summit last May, and that is the difference between a personal brand and a company's brand. I think you used Milestone and Chief, because if you follow anybody on Chief on Twitter, there's Chief Manufacturing, right? But most of the marketing folks and most of the sales folks on Chief, they have Chief Frank, right? Or you know, Chief, you know, whoever. How does an integrator take someone who has a good personal brand and kind of integrate that and use that for their own benefit?
Yeah, the people in your company really should be the experts of your company, and they should be able to spit out the right message and give you a good image. And if you've established a culture within your company, I think it makes it very easy for your marketing person, your whoever it may be, to be proud about what they're talking about and have a social media presence, and really, you know, inadvertently promote your brand. It's so cool because they're talking about stuff they know and love, whether it's an engineer or marketing or, you know, people that they've met in the industry, so they strike up conversations on social or whatever it may be. But you've basically got all these little brand advocates at your fingertips. And if you can get them excited about social and kind of show them benefits, like, hey, look at all the people that we can introduce you to, the new networking opportunities you have, the new events you can get involved in, and you start looking at it from that perspective, you've really got just such a cool tool at your fingertips, and just this ultimate presence of culture within your company. I mean, when I see companies on social who have, you know, tons of different people, Karen from BTX is here. We only knew each other from social, and it, you know,
Her handle is
Karen
BTX.
I'm PSNI Haley. I mean, I think we all kind of have that in a way, but you know, it makes me feel like, oh, that would be like a very cool company to do business with, or that would be, clearly they're doing something right, or they've established a culture enough that they trust their people to talk about whatever they may want to. The whole thing is a great concept and something that I think should happen more often at any level within an organization.